In this video, I'm going to show you how to change out or install a GFI outlet. As always, before beginning doing any electrical work, go to the electrical panel and turn off the circuit breaker. Even though we turned the circuit breaker off, we still want to double check and make sure that the power is truly off to this outlet before working on it. So if you have one of these outlet testers, these things are great. If not, they're usually like 10 bucks. So if you want to just pick one up when you're getting the new GFI at the store, they're great to have. And we're just going to make sure that nothing's lighting up on this thing. So these are great. They'll tell you if you wired things correctly, if there's any improperly wired receptacles, and it's also good to have this to check your work after you're done. It also can test and trip the GFI, so we want to make sure that everything tests properly after we install the new one, because we want to make sure that, God forbid, should an electrical device fall into the sink or get wet, that it actually kills the power. That's what these GFIs are here for. They're here as an added layer of protection to prevent you from getting shocked. We're going to start with taking our cover plate screws off, removing the screws that hold the outlet into the box. Gently pull the outlet towards you. There's going to be could be a bunch of wires inside here. So, and with that being said, there could be wires that are live on another circuit. So we want to be careful putting our fingers in here to take the electrical tape off if there is any. We're going to loosen the wires that are on this outlet. If you have wires coming into the back of the outlet like you see here, a lot of times you could just grab the wire and twist the outlet back and forth. The outlet we took out of here has these longer screws because of the tile backsplash. So we're gonna want to save these screws. We've got 4 neutrals and 4 hots. It's a lot of wires going on here to put on one screw. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put all of these wires together with a pigtail. So we're going to combine all the neutral wires and all the hot wires, and we're going to have a pigtail coming off. If you don't have all this madness going on and you just have one hot wire and one neutral wire, just skip this step. This part is a little bit more advanced. You are going to need a lineman's pliers or some type of pliers, as well as a wire stripper, because you may need to strip the wires back. What you would do is put the wire in here like so, give it a good squeeze, and as you come around it, you groove the insulation, and then you'll just pull the insulation off. We're going to start with the neutrals, putting them all together. I happen to have a pair of wire strippers. Makes it a lot easier than using the lineman pliers. Just find the size wire, put it in the notch, give it a good squeeze, and pull towards you. Once I have all the wires stripped to the length, I'm going to grab 2 of them and start twisting them together just to get them started. And I'm going to grab another one and weave it in. Sometimes this is trickier, maybe a little more difficult depending on what gauge wire you have. Once I have these 4 wires together, I'm going to splice in our pigtail. You may want to pick up some wire nuts when you're at the store. They typically have an assortment where you can get large, medium, small. I'm going to tuck the neutral wires into the box, get them so they're pushed back and tight. This way I've got enough room to put my GFI in when we're ready to go. But I'm going to tuck them all in, get them out of the way, and then we're going to repeat the process with all of our hot wires. Got our hots all tied in together. Now I don't want you guys to get lazy, but I didn't have any black or blue wire. I just happen to have this neutral wire. So I'm going to do something that the electricians do, and I'm going to wrap it in black tape. I'm going to start where it's stripped back, and I'm going to do the whole wire. Tuck in our hot wires, and these wire nuts can get a little bit big. So we want to try to position the wires where the wire nuts are not stacked up on each other, or else then it pushes the receptacle out and we may have a hard time getting it to sit flush with the wall. We have just our pigtails sticking out. On these GFIs, you can either make a hook on the wire and put it around the screw, or come in through the back here with it straight. I personally like to hook mine around the screw. It just makes better contact. I've gone in the back before and I've had them pull out on me. Here in the Midwest, we use metal conduit and metal boxes, so we don't need this ground screw. So if you're not using the ground screw or have a ground wire inside the box, you could just take a screwdriver and just tighten this up. In this situation, because we have just power, we have a hot or a line and a neutral, we're going to leave this tape on. This tape is for if we are going to have other outlets downstream of this GFI that we want GFI protected. So what we would do is we would have the power coming in, the line in on these two screws here, and then we would have the what's called the load, the other outlets that we wanted GFI protected would come off of these screws. We're going to do our hot on the gold screw and our neutral on the silver screw. You can either take your wire strippers or the lineman's pliers. I'm just grabbing the wire with the tip and bending it over. I've got our longer screws that I took off from the other outlet. I'm going to put the neutral on first. And when I put it on, I want the hook to go clockwise in the direction of when we're tightening the screw. So this way the wire stays nice and tight around it and makes a good contact. We're going to do the same with our hot wire. Put it on the gold screw. You could put electrical tape around it. We have the power off, so we're not worried about accidentally touching anything that's live and touching the box and shorting it. But if you feel more comfortable, you could always wrap the GFI with the electrical tape. When putting the GFI back in, if you can, it's always good to have the ground on the right side versus the left. It just looks nicer and cleaner. If your GFI is vertical, grounds go down. Line up your screws. I like to just get the screws started and then kind of work them in little by little on each side. Sometimes it even helps to push the GFI back once the screws are in. Now, I wouldn't go tightening this down too much because in this case we have glass tile around here, so we don't want to be chipping this tile. So I like to just get things snug. If you're worried about overdoing it with the drill, just use your screwdriver. If you happen to have a torpedo level, you can always use the torpedo level to make sure that it's nice and level. Or sometimes your best bet, like in this with the tile, is using the grout line, kind of a light enough sight, because we want to make sure, more than having it level, is we want to make sure we have the same margin between the cover plate and the grout lines. When putting our cover plate screws on, either make them horizontal or vertical. This way it looks nice and clean. We got everything put back together. Now let's go turn the electric back on and test our outlet. Nah, I'm just kidding. Hopefully nobody got electrocuted during this project. We're gonna test and make sure we did everything right with our tester here. We may have to hit the reset button for the first time to turn it on. Now this one, it has a green light when it's powered up. So we're gonna stick our tester in there and we are in good shape. We've got a green light, which means everything was wired properly. If we missed something or something wasn't right, we would get a red light on one of these here. And now we're going to hit the test button and simulate a short. Perfect. That's great. That shows us that we did everything correctly. If the video was helpful and you didn't get zapped, give us one of these.